Hello, what's up, you guys? How are you doing? I'm just getting ready. I just wanted to make sure people could come in before we started talking about the real important stuff in that's going on right now. Doesn't matter where you come from. Voting is always important. I think it's my first time voting, and I'm kind of nervous, but I got my ballot and I'm excited. I know what's up. I know who I'm gonna vote for, and yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is doing your research. So today we're gonna be talking a little bit about that and the Latino vote, and I'm gonna be talking to this really cool person. This girl boss. She's the definition of that. I think she is a civil rights activist, attorney. Her name is Monica Ramirez. She's from Ohio. I'm from Ohio. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. 216. Angel Chavez. I'm actually 19, but it will be my first time voting soon, very soon, which is amazing. I mean, let me pull up the stats right now. I believe she's gonna be joining us soon, and we'll talk more about this. But Latinos are the second largest voting bloc for the first time in American history, with 32 million eligible voters. Isn't that amazing? That's iconic. And it honestly will be one of the most critical, I think, one of the most critical elections in our lifetime that we will be able to vote for. Yeah, and we're gonna talk about like being a Latina in her industry and in mine. I know what that's like. I have personal experience. And oh, there she is, activist Monica Ramirez. Let's see, how do I do this? Go live with activists. I'm gonna put activist in my name. Okay, we're waiting for her. And hey, what's up? Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's nice to meet you virtually, like how I'm meeting a lot of people these days.
It's so good to meet you. And, I heard, we're fellow Buckeyes, so that is extraordinary. I can't wait for us to talk about that.
Yup. Well, I mean, okay, I'm not really that into like football and stuff like that. I'd say I'm more into like basketball, football, like football, not like football, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I loved the Cavs. I love the Cavs to this day. But a lot of it, like I'm in LA right now. I just moved to LA maybe a year ago. And it's kind of crazy, like the love that they have for their sports teams here is amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
the Dodgers just won.
The Dodgers just won. Yeah. I'm actually not big into sports myself, but coming from Ohio, I'm always super excited when I get to meet another Latina from Ohio because people don't really think about Latinas from Ohio.
No, they don't. Like Latinos in the Midwest are so overlooked. We're like kind of forgotten in a way. I mean, I'm like when people ask me where I'm from, I'm like, oh, I'm from Ohio, and people are like, what are you doing out there? Like that doesn't make sense. And like actually they don't know that there's a huge population of Latinos there. And
Yeah.
born and raised there. It's amazing.
Well, I'm happy to share that with you, and I'm really happy to share this conversation with you about the Latinx vote.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, well, thank you to Voto Latino for putting us in touch, and now we're able to have this conversation that I feel like is so crucial. And I think I'm going to learn a lot today. I think everyone's going to learn a lot today. If you guys have questions, just put them in the comments. But I just wanted to talk a little bit because it's my first time voting. And personally, I found it a bit intimidating at first because, it's just like, it is intimidating. It's a lot. The process seemed really, really annoying and long from the way that I saw it. But having people speak up and like direct me to organizations and like kind of make the process a little bit easier and simplify it really helped me a lot. And what once was like kind of intimidating to me now is like part of what's empowering me. And so I think that's amazing. And I think it's not too late to vote if you guys haven't voted yet. I believe in some states they do have a later deadline for that, for registering. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations. And that's really thrilling that this is going to be your first time voting. And, you definitely are not voting in a regular election year, that's for sure. So for everyone who's a first time voter, I think that it's probably seems much more complicated than in ordinary voting years, given everything that's happening with COVID. But, thankfully we have groups like Voto Latino who are helping to put out great information about what we can do to make sure that we're voting and voting safely.
Yeah, we gotta vote safely. And honestly, I think I'm gonna vote in person. I think I'm gonna go and drop off my ballot because it's my first time and I just want to like make it special, whatever. But I think a lot of people are really skeptical about mailing in the ballot, and I think I'm all for it because it's safe. But for example, like in a neighborhood in LA recently, there were ballot boxes that were lit on fire, and actually in a predominantly Latino neighborhood, which is weird because I don't know why they're just going after Latinos who are actually they tend to be more Republican leaning because of the normally like Catholic and Christian values that they hold, which is so I think it's just a thing of I don't know if it's like a hate crime lighting the ballot boxes on fire. I don't know if it has to do with just color in general, if that's just the issue here. But I mean, it is a I did question it myself when people were like, "Oh yeah, you can vote in your ballot, like I'm mailing your ballot and it'll be safe." I don't know what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, to your point earlier about, different states have different rules. First of all, that's true. And in some states, it's too late to register. The deadline has passed. But in other states, there's the ability to, register day up. So it's really important to go to organizations like Voto Latino who have, state by state information related to what the rules are, the laws are in each place. And I think, and the other thing is, there's a lot of good resources about what the options are. So as you're saying, some people are afraid to mail in their ballot because they're not sure if it'll arrive. And, right now, I know that a lot of groups are saying if you have your ballot, you should take it to a ballot box, or you should, take it in person to the Board of Elections. And because people are concerned that they won't make it if you mail it now. So I think, first of all, just understanding what are all your options. And I think for people who are considering voting in person like I think, with respect to COVID, all the rules stand, right? Like we have to make sure that we're wearing our masks and that we're social distancing. And, I've read a lot of great materials that talk about, how to prepare to vote. So reminders about washing our hands right before we vote and right after, and having hand sanitizer and having wipes in order to wipe down the voting equipment. And so I don't want this to feel overwhelming because people have put together checklists and tools to tell people how to vote safely. And and Voto Latino is one of those organizations where people have said, here are the things that you should be thinking about. If you want to vote by mail, here are some considerations. If you want to drop it off at the ballot box, here's how you know if a ballot box is legit. If you want to vote in person, like here are some of the things that you need to do in order to stay safe. So I think for first-time voters, including you, the good thing is there's lots of folks that have been thinking about this for a long time to help put the materials together to try to make it seem as manageable as possible.
Yeah, I feel like I'm also like I'm getting tested so much recently, and like I'm trying to stay safe too because my mom is immune compromised. So I do, I'm super paranoid. And I think like, yeah, and knowing that people are prepared and also thinking about this is safe too. Cause for a while it seemed to me that no one really cared. No one really cared that COVID was happening. And I was like, this is kind of weird. Why are people just living their regular lives? And what is going on? Is there not a pandemic anymore? Even people who were close to me were like, I don't believe in it. And I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. But yeah, if you guys want to know like more about voting and whatnot, I think the easiest thing is to go to votolatino.org/election. I think I'm gonna put that in the chat right now.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I spent some time looking at all the resources, and it's great because they're just all in one place, and it gives you, things to think about that maybe I would have forgotten, to take wipes or what have you. But it's all there, so people can check it out and keep that with you as your own checklist. But I want to talk about this. This is your first time voting, and what does this mean for you, and what does this mean for your family?
I mean, it's very exciting. I think I've learned a lot more about politics recently. I used to really not care. I'm going to be honest. Like I used to think that it didn't affect my life. I used to think, and it's not like I think I was just ignorant. I knew that it had a lot of importance. I think I was just I just wanted to not know about it because it honestly brought me a lot of misery. Because every time my parents brought it up, it had to do with immigrants trying to get your citizenship, all of this stuff that just like kind of felt like it was weighing down on my soul and my spirit. And mostly because I felt like I couldn't really do anything about it to change
Mm.
it. And when they talked about it, they seemed so hopeless because I have family members who have been trying to get us citizenship here for over 20 years. And so do so many of my friends. Like, so many
Yeah.
people who are, I obviously, they're my family, like, they're really good people and they've been working. But there is no guarantee to citizenship. That's the problem. There's no pathway to citizenship that is very easy. And DACA is not one of them. It's helping, but it is not one of them. And it just felt very, just I felt very hopeless in the situation until
Mm-hmm.
recently when I realized it affected my life way more than I thought it did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in my everyday life too, like the state elections, which are equally as crucial and important. Voting for your local senators and like people who will be people who will be like affecting your day-to-day lives with the decisions that they make about the schools, the streets, parking even, or highways, freeways, anything. It's really, really important to be involved and know more about it. And again, like when I'm voting this year, I will be voting for the family members who have just been not given a fair chance to become citizens in this country. And yeah, I'll be voting for them. They can't vote.
Yeah.
All we want, what's crazy is like all we want is to feel more connected as family members, as family, and that's something that everyone has in common. So
Yeah.
why is it so hard for my family? Because they're
You
brown.
know, I feel
They're
like,
brown. you know?
yeah, I mean, I feel like these points are so important because, first of all, for those who are voting for the first time, voting can be difficult, right? We have a lot to figure out. There are obstacles to voting. There's a lot of information we have to learn. And then to the point about, citizenship, and a lot of our community members don't have the right to vote. And many of our community members are undocumented. But I think that this, really understanding that there are many ways that we can be civically engaged, right? Whether that be like voting for someone else, voting for our family who can't vote, or, on their behalf or in their honor, sharing information with people who can vote about why it's important. Like, I feel like sometimes the conversation around voting or civic engagement doesn't, we don't always talk about all the other ways in which we can be powerful and exercise our civic power, and definitely, helping to get information to people who can vote or maybe are not as interested in letting them understand why it's so important, and whose honor we're voting on behalf of. I think that's really critical in this time.
At the end of the day, these people that we're voting for are old. They're very old and they're very out of touch. And normally that is the case. And I think at the end of the day, you're not going to agree with everything they say. It's more has to do with what you agree with the most that they're saying, what you agree with the most, So don't go for someone who you think is the second coming of Christ. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. They're politicians, okay? So you need to just make sure you do your research and
Yeah.
don't let anything that your family members say sway you or impact you or affect you. You just need to do your own research. Question everything. Believe nothing. And that is the only way that I think that you can make an empowering decision that you'll feel good with at the end of the day and not feel guilty about. Because
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I still live in rural Ohio. So here where I live, I think, understanding the importance of all the local politicians really is critical, because there are, sometimes people think about the presidential election and they're thinking only about those who are running for president. And we have to make sure people understand that down ballot, right? All of the folks running for state offices and local offices, they are the people who, as you say, are affecting our daily lives. And I feel like in rural Ohio, where I am, where there aren't many Latinx people, by the way, it's even more important to tell people that it really does matter. Because I hear from people sometimes like, oh, why am I going to vote? Doesn't matter. My vote isn't important. And it really is important, especially in these local races.
So you're saying you're rural Ohio. I mean, being from Cleveland, there is more of a population of Latinos here because when I lived there, like a year ago, not even, I grew up there and there was a community, mostly Puerto Ricans, I think. And, but it was nice having something there. And it is more of like a city kind of. So maybe that's why. But I just want to know more what it's like in your industry. I know what it's like in mine as a Latina in the Hollywood industry. That's complicated enough, but I wonder, like, as a decision maker, as a woman too, and not just a Latina, like a woman, how do they see you? How do you feel like, do you feel like you're doing what you want to do and what you came here on this earth to do?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I grew up an activist. I come from a migrant farm worker family that settled in Ohio. They used to travel, picking crops in Mississippi and Michigan and other places. And when my family settled here in Ohio, my parents made it a priority to teach us to give back. And so since I was pretty young, I've been involved in the community. And now as a professional, I focus on my work on the Latinx community, civil rights and human rights for farm workers and migrant women. And I think where I am in rural Ohio, because we are the minority of the population here, but farm workers help build this community, right? There are a lot of farms here. We help build this community. So it's a really interesting time because we have the chance to exercise our power and use our voices in a very particular and important way right now, and in a way that didn't happen before, right? There weren't people who looked like us who were running for office. There weren't people like us who had our stories who were running for office, and that's starting to change. And I think that helps motivate younger Latinx folks and BIPOC folks in the area to understand that we do have a say and we can make a difference.
I think it's really important what you're doing, and the fact that you come from like very humble beginnings. You know the experience of these people who helped build America, these farmers and migrant workers who I'm sure were affected really negatively by the coronavirus in ways that I can't even imagine. And I think it's important for you and I, coming from these small towns, coming from places where the odds were stacked against us. Now we've reached a point where they didn't want us to be, a position of power where they didn't want us to be, and now we can speak for those people. These people who are normally handed as nepotism, these products of nepotism, who are used to being in these positions of power, are now, I guess they're kind of feeling a little bit intimidated by the people who are coming and aren't afraid to say it how it is, say it like it is. And that's kind of my goal too, as somebody with a platform still, just like a little different. I have a lot of kids following me.
Yeah.
I try to educate them as much as possible. And I want to continue doing so. So I think conversations like this, I'm going to put this on my Instagram feed. I want to make sure that they see it. I want to make sure that they know what's up and know that voting is crucial and important. Even if you're too young to vote, just tell your friends. If you can drive your families to the voting polls or drop off their ballots, offer to drop off their ballots. Just be involved in as many ways as you can, because I think that's something. When I was 16, I think I was 16 or 15 in the 2016 elections, all I wanted was I just wanted to help somehow, and I knew that I couldn't like actually do something, or I thought I couldn't, but I mean, now that I'm looking back in retrospect, I just should have done more. I think I could have, honestly.
Yeah. And I think that, part of our job is to tell people what more they can do, because I think people get confused, right? They don't realize that there are things that we can do even if we're not the ones who are voting, right? So I think talking to people about where to find information, how to help people who maybe don't know how to get their ballots to the voting, the Board of Elections, sharing information like Voto Latino's election site, like those are all things that we can do that are really, really important, especially right now because there is a lot of disinformation. So we have to look at reliable sources like Voto Latino so that people know, okay, this is information that I can trust, and I'm going to share it with my family. I'm going to put it on my social media. I'm going to tell my friends about it. All of that matters. All of it counts.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And I can't wait. Honestly, I think we're headed in a really good direction. I really love people like AOC. I think she's killing it. I think she's making a really strong impact, and I want to continue like talking about I want to continue talking about that on my platform. Like, I think it's important to really speak your opinions, and you don't let other people and other people's words kind of dim your light. I think you should really talk to your family members about this. Don't be afraid of having these conversations. Come at it with facts, come at it with logic. Definitely talk to your old uncles who are stubborn with their ways, and try to just break down that wall and help them see politics for what they really are, which is just the advocacy for humans. It's just that's all it is.
That's true. And a lot of times, because I'm an activist, people will say things to me like, how did you become an activist? Or I'm thinking about becoming an activist. And the truth is, what we need to do in this election and just in our lives is think about what we care about. What are the issues that we care about? We know the Latinx community cares about the economy, we care about healthcare, we care about education, we care about climate, we care about immigration, we care about so many things. And if we just start with the issues that we care about and talk about the issues that we care about with our friends and family and with our tios and, and with other people, around us, then those are the building blocks that will help, as we sort of build our muscle as advocates and activists, but also in just trying to make sure that people get information not just about candidates, but also about the issues that impact our lives.
100%.
So you have an audience and you're engaging with folks, and I'm sure folks have a lot of questions. And the Young Latinx vote is so important. And first-time voters like yourself, I think I've read something that said something more than like 600,000 young Latinx voters had already engaged in early voting as of the last article I read, which is an incredible and awesome number. And so, what is your message to these other first-time voters?
My message to you, I think definitely do your research. Like I said earlier, question everything, believe nothing. You need to make sure that you're strong and remember your values, of course, when you're voting for people, and try to do as much as you can in your everyday lives. It's so possible. It's so crucial. Like and as much as you think politics is annoying or boring or it's not fun to talk about or you don't think it affects you, that's because usually if you think that that's the case, it's because because it already benefits you. It already benefits you. You come from a society or a place in society that doesn't really get affected by these decisions that people are making for the migrant workers, the farmers, the people who actually are affected by the decisions. So think again when you think that politics is boring or when you think it doesn't affect you, when you think it doesn't matter. It does. And I think that's the most important thing to take away is just to care. It's cool to care. It's awesome.
I couldn't agree more. It is cool to care. That's gonna be my new tagline. It's cool to care.
Yes.
It's cool to care. And it's also important to get the right information. So, I'm really happy that you pinned the Voto Latino information down here on this chat so that people could get that info and check it out, and if you have doubts, you're still, maybe if you're still skeptical, check out that website and learn more and figure out, based on this information that's there, how you can get engaged and maybe, and I'm sure it'll answer some of the big questions that you have as well.
Yes, amazing. Thank you so much, Monica. Like I learned so much, and I'm just gonna be doing a lot more things in my daily life to really make a difference. And again, I appreciate you for joining us and just talking to me. And I'm sure my fans do as well. The people who are watching do as well. And you guys just stay in school, wear your masks, and keep doing your part. So thank you so much. I hope I see you sometime soon in Ohio or LA.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Thank you for all your leadership and entertainment too. What you're doing is important. Representation of our community, authentic representation of our community is so critical. And so thank you for your role in making that.
Exact same thing to you. You are equally as just, I admire you so much. So thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Everybody
don't forget.
Bye to Monica. Everybody say thank
you.
Bye.
Vote.
Yes, please vote. I can't wait to put this up on my page and see what people think.